All right, thank you all very much for having me. My name is Tim Receveur, and I'm with Peace Tech Lab, a small NGO in Washington, D.C. We're about 10 people for our staff, but we have people all over the world that work with us. This was a photo from about 4 or 5 weeks ago in Agadez in Niger. You probably can't see me, I blend very well, but I'm on the right side there. But we work we look at ways that media, data, and technology can help prevent violent conflict around the world. And we're working in a lot of different areas. We are located on the National Mall in Washington. We're inside the U.S. Institute of Peace, which is, we're an NGO separate from them, but with a lot of conflict resolution experts. And we look at ways that we take that expertise from conflict resolution and blend it with social science, with data science, with engineering, and look at new ways to solve conflict issues around the world. So we look at ways that we can scale technology in peace building, and this is just one example of what do you see here that's different between the two photos. So obviously the mobile devices have changed everything. This is even 5 years ago, so it's even exponentially higher now. So when we're operating in Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, these places all have very high mobile penetration. Everybody has digital tools that can be used for media, to get your messages out, could be used for podcasting, mapping, anything can be done on a smartphone. And we're seeing more and more, obviously, penetration in countries that normally didn't have those tools before. And we look at ways that we can train people up on those tools and use them more effectively. Before I show you some of the training that we do, I wanted to just show some other areas we're working in. One is hate speech. So we've been cataloging, we've got an office in Nairobi, and we started cataloging hate speech in different countries in Africa and what that looks like in each country. So in South Sudan, we have terms like MTN, which is a mobile network, that we wouldn't normally associate with hate speech, but is a slang term for Dinka. And we've cataloged these terms in different countries. We've put them into our terms in Hexagon, we've got a partnership with IBM Watson, and looking at the networks and the usage and baselining these hate speech terms in the country and who's spreading them to get a better idea of how that works, and if it's getting better or worse, obviously, and how it's changing. We're also looking at the same methodology for Russian propaganda and disinformation as well, and working with some partners to hopefully kick off a project in Central Asia very soon for the same goals. We've got a Peace Tech Accelerator. So one of the reasons we spun off as a nonprofit is to be able to work with foundations, with tech firms. And we partnered in the Peace Tech Accelerator looking for companies around the world that are using media, data, and tech to prevent violent conflict and be able to scale them up over 2 months of mentorship. And we partnered with Amazon Web Services, SAP, C5 Capital, a venture capital company out of London. And so far we've had four cohorts of companies that have come through from all over the world into Washington. And we're also working in media, and we've worked on radio dramas, we've worked on reality TV shows in Iraq, radio dramas in South Sudan and Afghanistan, and we've got much bigger aspirations. We're getting ready to launch a 24/7 TV channel in Pakistan on Home TV, and in Nigeria on something called Channels Television, a Hausa TV channel, and we're still figuring out what that content will look like. We're looking at youth-focused peace-building channel that we're hopefully launching early 2019. And we've got a platform called Ground Truth that is a big data platform that we partnered with IBM Watson. And for this, we look for indicators of violence. We're launching a beta in 20 countries this year and looking for beta testers, and we can give you the list of countries too, but conflict zones and looking for indicators of violence. Also working on blockchain with this, and we're co-partnering a workshop on blockchain for social impact with a group called Consensus. later this month. And the project I work on is called Peace Tech Exchanges. So these are 3 to 4 day workshops that we work on some of the drivers of conflict that we see around the world. So we look at good governance, countering extremism, hate speech, citizen engagement, and we're working in all of the normal conflict zones and some places like Macedonia on open government. We're working in Myanmar on hate speech and the propagation of hate speech. And what we try to do is bring low-cost, easy-to-use technology. So we use social media, we use podcasting tools, citizen journalism tools, video tools, online security tools, and so far we've trained about 1,200 NGOs around the world. We started working with government as well, and we trained about 300 government officials around the world, and we have a technology network of about 350 people. And I mentioned Niger. We were just there in March, and actually all of 2018 so far. We just came back. But we worked with about 124 NGOs in 4 workshops around the country, looking at low-cost technology tools that we could be using for these NGOs to work on some of the drivers of violent extremism in Niger. And some of these are poor governance, corruption, unemployment, and finding ways that low-cost technologies could be used for innovative ideas there. And we launched 16 projects out of that, and we'll be running those all through the year. And one of the benefits that Peace Tech Lab has had is we've been able to pool resources from a lot of different sectors. So in Niger, for instance, we had some initial funding from the U.S. Embassy in Niamey. It wasn't a lot, but we were able to get Orange, the local, or the French telecom, to sponsor all of the IT out of the workshops, which saved us, $10,000 or $15,000. We had Facebook send trainers to the event and provide ad credits. We have Microsoft licenses as well, and on top of that, we had a foundation fund all the projects that came out of that. So an initial fund from the U.S. Embassy, and then we added a lot of things that really made it more sustainable and impactful. And in the case of this, we had a little bit of money left over, so we were able to build something called a tech house, which we put in Niamey that would be able to work with NGOs over the next year, and could be something in future proposals that we could offer as a benefit. But it would be a place where technologists could be and advise the NGOs on how to implement low-cost technologies for more impact. And I just want to give you a couple examples. We spent a lot of time in Iraq. We've been there for about 4 years. And one example is we have, so it's a 3 to 4 day workshop. In this case, it's 4 days. We had a lot of citizen journalism tools that we brought in, Storify, Storymaker, podcasting tools. And one of the groups was called People's Development Organization. And Bahar Osman was there. She's in the top left. And it was an opportunity to work with government working on refugee issues, IDP issues in Iraq. So in this case, they were collecting data on people in Karatu camp in Kurdistan, and we're looking at ways they could catalog better the diseases, the doctors, and what was going on in the camps, and be able to direct medications and get more attention on the issue. And in this case, we had a small micro project of about $2,000, and she went to the camp. They were using something called Kobo Toolbox that could do online data collection, offline and online. And in this case, she collected information on thousands of IDPs in the camp. She did a podcast on who had seen a doctor, who hadn't, and what they needed at the camp. They got the attention of government, and then they delivered about $25,000 in medical supplies to the camp, roughly 3 or 4 weeks after the report that they put together. And also media coverage. And some of our trainers as well. We've got this network I mentioned of hundreds of technologists around the world that we're working with. I just want to give you a couple examples. We had Tassim here in the top left. He was initially one of our very first participants. He was a journalist that came through to learn about citizen journalism tools and fell in love with StoryMaker and went out after the training and made a story about a drought that was going on in central Iraq that won a United Press Award for coverage that wouldn't have been done without citizen journalism tools. And he won an award. He got the attention of StoryMaker as well. And so StoryMaker made him one of their official trainers for their tool, and now trains on StoryMaker around the Middle East for them. In the top right, that guy right there is Narez. He started a makerspace in Basra, Iraq, and he did this with a crowdfunding campaign to build a trailer to be able to do engineering, to do programming for youth and for college students in Basra. And we got our attention, like, fell in love with the guy, and he actually showed up to our event, was a trainer. He invited us to come out to the makerspace called Science Camp that he runs, and he wowed everybody, including a gentleman that was from MIT, who invited him to come to MIT to present his work that he was doing there, which got press coverage in the US, that got press coverage in Iraq, and long story short, he got the attention of Iraqis in the government, and they made him the official ambassador of Iraq for the first global robotics challenge. So he led the Iraq delegation to the US last year, but his profile has been raised a lot, and anyway, he's one of the change agents that we see in Iraq. And finally, we're looking for partners around the world. So if you'd like to get involved in peace building and technology and the intersection of those two things, we're looking for startup companies for our accelerator. We're looking for more connections to companies, including tech companies, obviously, telecoms, beta testers for our ground truth, and we're looking for trainers at our events around the world that we work on. We're doing right now 4 or 5 countries a year, and we're looking for media experts, experts on governance, entrepreneurs, fake news, and disinformation. So if that was of interest at all, please connect with me after the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've seen 2 words which got me really activated. First was entrepreneurship, and second was accelerator. You have a question? So I'm going to use this chance to present myself now that everybody's here. My name is Alan, and I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. And I build programs around entrepreneurship. I do a caravan which is called I Want to Be an Entrepreneur, which goes around Romania. And I used to promote youngsters regarding entrepreneurship. I also built an acceleration program. That's why I got really activated. I also take care in DCN about entrepreneurship, so I'm into this space. I wanted to follow up, but...
And one more thing, and also today is his birthday.
Thank you. It's a special occasion for me as well, and now I'm going to get even more emotional. So, question?
I'm Goran Levko from Center for Investigative Journalism, School Macedonia. You mentioned in one moment that Macedonia has to have open government project about public data. Can you explain what kind of due diligence has Macedonia to do it, because we didn't have this kind of information that something is happening in this moment, because we changed dictatorship, but right now there are not so many new things about the law of free access of information or other things, because our last story that I was investigating, I was waiting 6 months for answers and documents about the salaries of one regulatory body in Macedonia.
Yeah, that's a That's a great question. We had the same pushback. We tried to put in a proposal last February, March to deal with some of those issues, and we were told it wasn't a good time to bring up those issues. And then by the summer of last year, the new Prime Minister's office came in, and they were asking for help on a roadmap for open government and good governance. And so we had a workshop back in December with civil society for a few days, and then with government for a few days to lay out, some of the best practices that have been going on, looking for talent in Macedonia to be able to help that from the civil society side. And we brought in somebody, her name was Corey Zarek. She was the former CTO of the Obama administration on implementing open government, so giving advice on first steps. But yeah, it's very early, but that was kind of the plan that we had over a week-long workshop last December. It was just to lay out the initial steps.